Okay, day 137, How to Catch a Spy. Today's version will be dedicated to Sibel Edmonds, Edmonds, Sibel, Sibel. Sibel Edmonds is quite an expert on Turkey, and she's been reporting on kind of the Turkish Express, what I call the Orient Express or the Turkish Midnight Express, the rat line from Pakistan to Turkey for the drug trade. Also, she works with James Corbett at the Corbett Report, so I'd like to forward this on to James as well. And I'm a big fan of both of theirs. In the past, I've talked about how Hillary worked with Muslim Brotherhood and so forth for kind of the overt overthrows of Syria and Libya and other countries. And I've talked about the Gulen movement. And Gulen movement really is soft Islam. It's basically a way to kind of softly infiltrate into the positions of power, especially the police and so forth, and then also put people in positions of power, like the Awan brothers, so that they can be tap into all of the email basically for all of the senators and congressmen on Capitol Hill was the design here. And Gulen, you're going to find out, it did fund the Awan brothers, the four Awan brothers, and the two wives. So now you might wonder who installed the Awan, the Imran Awan originally in 2005, and that's going to be Terry McAuliffe, who's the current governor of Virginia and a longtime friend of Bill Clinton. And the way this works is the DNC chairman says to the House of Representatives, "Hey, you put this guy on your staff as a part-timer, pay him $60,000 a year. You're never going to see him. But I'll make it up to you when it comes time for campaign contributions down the line." So it's always going to be the DNC chairman. The one who follows McAuliffe is going to be Tim Kaine. And then the natural progression is to come up through the governor of Virginia and then vice president, like Tim Kaine is now, and then eventually, presidency or secretary of state. So how do we know Tim McAuliffe? Well, he's the guy who gave Andrew McCabe's wife $675,000, and Andrew McCabe still hasn't recused himself from the Hillary or Huma case. So here's what we did is just kind of Diane Barton did a lot of this research. Looked for these Awans that lived at this location here on 9667 Hawkshead Drive. This is where Imran Awan lived, as well as his wife, Hina Alvi. And so this is Muhammad Hunzla Awan. You're going to find several Muhammad Awans that keep coming through here. And I just noticed that there was Best Sedan service right here. And I'm just wondering if Awan was the driver to go get these guys as they came in from Pakistan and to work for defense contractors. Because, if you look at Hunzla's curriculum vitae, he's still in Pakistan, okay? But he is working for this Lightbridge Communications. What Lightbridge does is it comes in and sets up cell networks, and I will bet anything that they set up a cell network for Congress, both for the House and for the Senate, or Capitol Police, or all over the country. I'll bet they do work like that all over the country. I'm not saying they're working on the national 9/11 system that just went down, but my working theory is that the Awans is kind of like a Braverman. It's just kind of a cover name. That you bring everybody in with the last name Awan. That way you don't have to keep asking for different identities and so forth. And you can put all the billing under Awan and so forth. So that's my theory here. We can look into Muhammad Hunzla, but the thing that ties them all together is this address in Lorton, Lorton, in Virginia. So this is be interesting to see what kind of research comes back from the community. Again, no response yet from Franklin Foer. It's almost like he's gone silent. He has to answer for where he got this data now from this Trump hack, this Trump communication with these Russian banks. So we're drilling in on that, and I am speculating, but with some basis of good reason, that this Spectrum Health was the bridge machine that was used to conduct this hacking, this iterative process of hacking, finding servers, finding applications, finding users. If you have hacking in with the Awan type brothers and the experts that they can bring in from Pakistan, ISI probably, you don't really need FOIAs. Why would you want to do a FOIA unless you wanted to say Trump was under investigation, which is exactly what they did. That's what the New York Times did and other publications. But why would you even go to the trouble? If you have hackers to do it illegally, why would you even bother? So I mentioned that this Turkish Express or Midnight Express, Orient Express, this Pakistan to Turkey thing was set up by a CIA kind of really a mastermind, a guy named Graham Fuller. He's the guy who came up with this. We'll do soft Islam over here through Gulen. And these were mainly, in the start, these were the old Soviet stand countries, the five, Tajikistan and Pakistan and all, are the other stands, and the one, Azerbaijan, for that line, for that rat line from Pakistan to Turkey. And then you have the kind of more radical Islam here, this is Al-Qaeda. And now if you want to, he's the banker for all this, for that rat line. And Al-Qaeda has many Turkish banks. And if you want to think of him as Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda, because he's the chief financier of Al-Qaeda. So I don't even know if they were, anyway, that's the easy way to remember his name right now. So he's financing both this soft infiltrating type Islam, kind of what they're doing in the Midwest right now in many states in the Midwest. And then when you're ready to do your 9/11, you do your 9/11 with a more radical. So you have some of the madrasas doing the radicalization. You have a lot of them just doing this kind of softer infiltration. And again, it may be that this naming all these consultants that come in from Pakistan who are more radicalized, it may be just an homage to the original Awan, who did the original rat line in Pakistan for the heroin drug money laundering, which was through BCCI. And of course, Hillary has a direct connect to BCCI through Mark Rich. So Jackie Spear, you see her now on some of the television shows and so forth. You're going to find, going back, the DNC is going to be reimbursing her for all these things, for asking for top secret clearances for these Awans. And now that all the CIA tools are out there, the Vault 7 tools, you're going to find that the Awans and that Gulen network have all the tools. And basically, you had to get rid of them. You had to push out the tools because now Trump has control of the CIA with Pompeo. So you have to have a leak. So if Sibel is not familiar with the Awan brothers, they worked basically for 31 different Democrats. There was this, they normally, I believe, just gave information to Muslim Brotherhood about pending attacks or information about oil or information about minerals and so forth. But they recently, I believe, gave information about the Navy SEAL raid in Yemen, and that's why I believe they had these congressional offices were broken into. We had 20 Watergates. We didn't just have one Watergate. We had 20 Watergates. And the fact that there's no surveillance cameras of these folks entering and coming in and going, I believe is a tip-off that this is a state secret type program. The FBI normally would be all over this. They would be publishing the photos like they did in the Aaron Schwartz case. The other connection I've talked about is the Iran connection through Kislyak. The Russian ambassador, he's had 6 meetings at the White House on the uranium, and they also did the nuclear deal. So that's going to be coming forward. And I've talked to you about the Muslim Brotherhood connections this is basically the U.S. donation arm of Muslim Brotherhood here through Mazen, working directly with the folks in Congress, especially Andre Carson. He was just seen in Chicago last weekend fundraising with Mazen. So again, we have outside influence, outside money, outside forces like Al-Qaeda and all these other bankers and that are providing money for spy networks, for the Gulen spy network, and they have access to the House Permit Select Committee and Intelligence, Information, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs. And they have an external server just like Hillary and just like Huma. So, known terrorist ties to al-Atari. I won't go into that. Known terrorist ties back to the Russian ambassador. So where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, I talked about the different Awans, Abed, Amran, and Jamal. That might just be the brothers, and then as different people come in and they need to do different things, as ISI kind of trained agents come in, they can just assume these identities. You just let them use a driver's license and get them a car, get them a place to live, etc. So that's just one working theory. But we do have the financial anomalies. It also could be that there's only a couple of Awans, and then they just created multiple identities to just get as much money as possible. I think that would be pretty foolish, but it could be possible. And then I always talked about there could be just chauffeurs for these oil companies and defense companies. What I missed out on was the IT contractors coming in. The other Awan, the Muhammad Awan, is for a light bridge, which does these cell networks. So it could very well be that they're cell hacking, using the dirt box type cell hacking technology and installing that around different law enforcement that you want to watch. So we talk about the HUMA 650,000 emails and how if you're stealing this information from those three House subcommittees, where are you going to put it? Well, you would put it on someone who has a link to the Muslim Brotherhood, their server. Why would you? You have to store it somewhere. We already know it's there. We already have a smoking gun that we know it's on HUMA's server, and we know it was on Hillary's server, and we know there's classified information going back and forth between the two. So we need to look at the server logs and the connections between Hillary's server, the Awan server, and HUMA's server. That's it for this morning. Forward to Sibel Edmonds and James Corbett.